But what I know about is Texas. And down here, you're on your own.
Hello.
Having a good time?
Hey, what's it?
Your husband.
I got a job for you. It's not strictly legal.
You want me to kill him?
Ray, let's get out of here.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
What's funny is that it's not you she's sleeping with, it's someone else. What's really going to be funny is when she gives you that look and says,
I don't know what you're talking about.
You look stupid now.
Hey there, I'm Dave, and welcome to another Dave's Movie Diary episode. Today I'm going to talk about Blood Simple from 1984. Very noirish, and a film that still works really well. It's interesting, isn't it? Some debut films feel like rough sketches, or they're still a bit unhatched. You can see what the filmmakers are trying to do. You can see the talent, the ideas, but you can also see that they're still working out who they are. And then there's a film like this, like Blood Simple. It arrives fully formed. It's incredible. It's the first feature, obviously, from Joel and Ethan Coen, the Coen brothers. It's a crime story on the surface, but underneath it's really, about perception. And about how quickly everything can fall apart when people stop seeing reality clearly. So nearly 40 years later, it still feels remarkably confident to me. All right, what's it about? It's a film that takes place in a small Texas town, and it's a place that's really isolated and extremely hot, suffocating. And at the center of the story is Julian Marty, a bar owner who becomes convinced his wife Abby is having an affair. Julian Marty is played by Dan Hedaya. Interesting character actor from around this time. He had a spot on Cheers there for a while. And he's really great in this. His wife's played by Frances McDormand, who most people will be well aware of now, having won 3 Oscars. Anyway, back to the story. Rather than confronting the situation directly, that his wife's having an affair, Marty decides to hire a private investigator, Lauren Visser, to gather evidence. What a great name, Lauren Visser. Lauren Visser is played by M. Emmett Walsh, and he's perfect. I'll talk more about him later. What begins as suspicion quickly spirals into something far more dangerous. The problem is that nobody in this film has the full picture. Everyone's working with incomplete information, and that's what makes it so good, so intriguing. So every decision's based on assumptions, and every misunderstanding causes another misunderstanding, and we go on and on. So Abby and her lover Ray believe they understand what's happening. Marty thinks he knows what's going on. Visser thinks, actually, I'm the only one that knows the full picture. They're all wrong. As things keep unfolding, small mistakes have major consequences, and the story tightens with a lot of precision, which is really incredible for first-time directors. It's not through huge twists or action sequences, because there aren't many of those. It's more through people making increasingly desperate decisions based on the information they have and under a lot of pressure. So that's the brilliance of this film. Nobody's really in control. They just think they are. Love it. What's my relationship with the film? My relationship with this one is a bit odd. It came through an Australian magazine called Shocking Cinema. I think it was released in Australia in about 1987. geez, it couldn't have come at a better time for me. I was like 14 or 15 then, and it was a movie talking about movie taboos, things that were shown in movies and caused a lot of shocks and really provocative stuff. It referenced heaps of movies. Me and my mates just lapped it up. We noted it down. We thought, yep, we've got to see this one. Got to see that one. You know, there were films in there like Gothic, where a character's nipples turn into eyes, things like that. A lot of Evil Dead or The Shining, Clockwork Orange, big spread on Clockwork Orange. All these controversial films. Blood Simple somehow found its way in there. In the noir section, and it's an interesting choice to show up in a magazine called Shocking Cinema because, okay, yes, I can see why. There is a sequence in this film involving a body being hauled around and buried and reburied and things like that, but this isn't really a shocking film. But anyway, that's how I first came across this film. I love the cover art. It's just got the character's feet for Abby and her lover, cowboy boots and red pumps nestled against one another. It implies a lot in a really simple graphic, so really well marketed. I think any film that's got blood in the title, that's always a good move. It tells you what you're in for to an extent. So anyway, the movie already felt slightly dangerous, slightly outside the mainstream, and it was. It's an independent film. It wouldn't have necessarily been playing at your local cinema, for example, or showing up regularly on TV. Blood Simple's one of those. It's dark, it's violent, it's unpredictable. When I eventually tracked it down on VHS, I was surprised by it. Not because it wasn't dark, because it was. I think it was the pacing. It was a lot slower and more controlled than I'd expected, especially compared to the other films that were in that Shocking Cinema magazine that were, you know, things like Evil Dead. There's gore galore, there's shocks everywhere, it's in your face, you can't miss it, chainsaws, whatever. This one, the tension isn't coming from the action. It's coming from information, or who knew what, who misunderstood what, and what happens then. I'm watching it now, decades later. That's even more apparent. So when I was younger, it felt transgressive, but now it really feels masterfully structured. There's a lot of silences. There's a lot of moments for reflection in this film, and that just builds the tension. It's not about shock. It's really about inevitability in some ways. You can sort of see that the characters are doomed in various ways. Anyway, my perception of this has changed over time, understandably. Let's get on to the Coens. They really burst onto the scene with this film, and this film had a real life in the underground independent movie world where a lot of us like to live. What's remarkable is how much of their future work already exists here. I think you can see a parallel with Michael Mann's Thief in 1981, that set his template really early. It staked out his ground, and he didn't deviate too far from that. And the Coens kind of do that here. We've already got the dark humor, the fascination with fate, but the main thing for me is the way that ordinary people create extraordinary disasters. You know, think of Fargo, perfect example. An obsession with characters misreading situations and paying a steep price. Other films, similarly, Raising Arizona, The Big Lebowski, Burn After Reading, A Serious Man. People running around hectically, thinking they know what's happening. They really don't. All these different genres, they're fascinating filmmakers, aren't they? Lots of different tones they're able to explore and pull it off. Not many other filmmakers can do that. Most filmmakers are in a certain genre, or if they step out, they're not reaching so much as these guys do and succeeding. That's the other key. So anyway, for a first feature, the confidence is astonishing. Nothing feels tentative. All right, the cast. Frances McDormand, what a film debut. Much like the Coens, you can see the qualities in her performance that would define later roles in their films and other films. So the big ones for her were obviously Fargo, Nomadland, both Oscar winning. I always loved Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri as well. Laurel Canyon, she's always got a knowing look. She kind of has similar energy to Susan Sarandon. Both intelligent, sexy in their own way, quick with a comment, biting humor, feistiness, grounded, natural, believable. Nothing ever feels like a real big, extravagant performance with her, and I think that's why she's perfectly suited to the Coen brothers movies, and why she fitted in so well, and why she ended up married to one of them. Don't ask me which one, I don't know, but I think they're still together and still working well. So what a debut, up there with the best debuts. John Getz as Ray, her lover in this film. He spends a lot of the film reacting rather than driving events. He's not a... I don't see him as a critical role. He's there definitely in the mix, but he's constantly trying to solve problems he doesn't fully understand, much like everyone else, but he kind of drifts along, and he captures that confusion beautifully, John Getz. It's a good role. He stays within the boundaries, doesn't try and reach for the stars, does a good enough job. The two really interesting performances are Dan Hedaya as Julian Marty. He brings a sort of a simmering volatility to Marty. He's not a big movie villain. He's just a jealous, insecure little man whose suspicions about his wife slowly overwhelm his judgment and make him do some silly things. The performance works because it really feels recognizable. It's human, right? We've heard about people like this. I've seen people like this in real life, and he does it perfectly. It's a great performance, but not as good as our Emmett Walsh as Visser. He steals the film. That's it. He does it. He's just one of those great Coen characters. Shaggy, corrupt, sloppy, but underneath there's a lot of cunning, a lot of animal, opportunistic, immoral qualities. Smarter than he looks, quicker on the draw than he seems to be. Trying to get every last dollar out of this situation and doing atrocious things. If you're right near the end, he does some amazing things. Trying to come out with some money. He's one of the great unheralded supporting character actors, I think, of this period. He pops up in a lot of films around this time, playing similar roles, and also in Blade Runner a couple of years before. He's in that film briefly as Harrison Ford's character's ex-boss. And again, he's slimy in that one as well. He's probably a great fella off the screen. I've got this theory about actors, and I don't know if it's true, but I think it's true enough that in life we all seek balance, right? And I think acting is a great way it's a great outlet. So if you're a bit of a shitheel in life, you probably play angelic characters to balance things up. And if you're a great guy off screen, maybe you go for darker roles to get that balance. I think, anyway, enough juvenile philosophizing, if that's a word, from me. What works in this film? The atmosphere, the locales, the heat, the darkness, lots of neon and shadows, and everything's played out in the shadows, enclosed, oppressive. that environment really creates a lot of the tension and confusion in this film, and that's really what it's all about. Even this early for me, the Coens demonstrate remarkable discipline. What do I mean? I mean, every frame that they shoot seems to have a purpose to it. Every movement of the camera is thought out, and you can already see the filmmakers they'd become. They're not messy, play it as it comes filmmakers. Everything's storyboarded and structured, and probably helps with their running times. I'm a big fan of crisp, contained running times. This one maybe could have been trimmed slightly, but then again, we'd lose a lot of those really effective long silences that really fit in with the environment, the small town, the heat, the growing suspicion and tension. So you can't have everything. The narrative structure. The screenplay is really precise. The story never gets too complicated that you can't understand it, but it continually becomes too difficult for the characters to escape and comprehend. And that pressure really builds naturally. This was, obviously it's their first film, but it was also the first example of that Coen violence. What do I mean by Coen violence? I mean, they've got a real knack, and Fargo, again, is an easy example to use, that when violence does come, it's abruptly. It's out of nowhere. And it's explored to its fullest extent. It's messy, it's in your face, it's painful. They don't glamorize it, which I feel like other filmmakers tend to do. They just do it as as explicitly as they can, and then leave it with you. They don't make it sexy. They just make it real, and that makes it far more effective. I touched on the sense of inevitability in this film. It could be the biggest strength, to be honest. Everything that plays out feels like it could have been avoided with some smarter people, or some more reflection, or having more information. But yet somehow the outcome seems unavoidable as well. It's a difficult balance to achieve, and they do it. What doesn't work as well, I've already touched on it, the pacing. It does take its time. It allows scenes to breathe, trusts the silence, but it did surprise me. I didn't have that recollection that there was so much build-up for some of the scenes. So if you're expecting constant narrative momentum or things happening, it might feel a bit slow in patches. Some of the performances are deliberately rough around the edges compared to what you'd see in a contemporary crime thriller. I reckon that's part of the design, so you got to go with it. They're not polished. They're acting like real people would, and I think that's always what the Coens aim for. But if you're not used to the Coen style, or you like more precise, experienced acting, then you'll probably notice it. So look, I think it's exactly the kind of film that your perception changes as you get older. So when I first saw it, I focused on the darkness, the violence, the sense that anything could happen. Now I really admire the way it's put together, the patience, the way that information's critical, and the misunderstandings that come out of that. It's really, I still can't get my head around the fact that this was their first film and it's so successful. It doesn't feel like a debut. It feels fully formed. So it's highly recommended from me, and especially if you would like to close out your Coen Brothers library, check it out. I managed to find it on a platform called Kanopy. That's Kanopy with a K, like the Kardashians spell everything with a K. Kanopy's with a K. You can access it if you've got a library subscription. So if for no other reason, that's a great reason to get a library card. And you can access heaps of free movies that are slightly left of center, like this one. So look, fascinating revisit. Glad I checked it out again. Well worth the time and the effort. Thanks for listening again, and see you next time.